This episode was made possible by the fine folks at
Washington State's Caviar Gold. My name is Bigfoot. Episode 4.
Welcome, Rangers, to another episode of My Name is Bigfoot, and you are, sir?
John Keister.
For Washington State, you just slayed it for being the most entertaining TV show to watch.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. We were the number one show in Seattle for 15 years.
You were part of REV, which was a music, like a MTV, before MTV, right?
That's correct, yeah. I was working at the Rocket magazine, which was an alternative music magazine, and someone from King called up and said, hey, you got that character Johnny Renton who talks about the local music scene. You think you could bring that over to a show that we're doing? And I said, well, yeah, sure, okay. So walked in, and that was the beginning of my TV career.
You know music pretty well.
Yeah.
But what made you switch from music to comedy?
Well, the REV show had gone away, and a lot of the Almost Live was just starting up. And a lot of the stuff that I did on REV was comedy based, and they said, why don't you try contributing some segments to this new show that we're starting up, which turned out to be Almost Live. And so all right, and so I did that, and that's how I got on the show.
When Almost Live first started off, Ross Schaefer was the host.
Yes.
Well, after he had left, you guys completely rewrote it. I mean,
revamped
more of a
it,
sketch comedy, and you guys won 12 Emmys.
Yes.
12 Emmys. How did you guys feel? I mean,
there were some aspects of the show that were more they were more conducive to me being the host. I was always the guy who was running around doing sketch comedy, and Ross would interview the guests. But after 5 years, you kind of run out of your local sports figures and your local politicians and stuff. And we were pretty much, there wasn't a lot of other people to interview. And that was never my forte. And so we used to have a band, and we used to have some other stuff, and we just sort of stripped it down to a sketch comedy show.
What's the basic from idea to shooting for Almost Live?
We would come in on Tuesdays because we take Sunday and Monday off. People would throw their ideas out on the table. We'd pretty quickly decide which ones had merit, and then we'd draw up a schedule, and we'd just run out with the film crew and shoot them.
Like that same day?
No, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Okay. Then we would edit on Saturday, present the show, and then start all over again. We did 26 of them every season.
The sketches that you were doing, not only was it relevant, it was pretty bold. We pushed the envelope with a lot of the stuff that we did. It was great.
And I agree. No, we did a lot of stuff that people were really shocked at, and it was a lot of fun. I couldn't wait to get out and show some of the people that sort of stuff. Then there was things where I wouldn't say we went too far, but we incited, panic. Yeah. Like we said, the Space Needle fell over on April 1st, on April Fool's Day, and nobody got it, and so there's a big panic, and people drove in from Eastern Washington to help with the disaster, and it was just oh my God, God, we're in trouble.
When you did do your interviews, you interviewed Jerry Seinfeld.
I did.
When he did his, and not just that, you did it as a political talk. You weren't just doing a fluff piece.
That was sort of more my style, and he's a smart guy, and there were some issues. I tried to interview people like that, but sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't, and it never really felt right.
Okay.
The whole format never felt right until we switched it to strictly sketch comedy, and then it really took off. There was a time period when we were on Comedy Central for a couple of years.
When it was like the HA network, right?
No, they just consolidated, but it was the pre-South Park days. And then it was like HA, and they consolidated into Comedy Central. And we were on with shows like Kids in the Hall and stuff like that, and thought we could move up the ladder there, but it just really wasn't getting the penetration that it did in those days the way it is now.
Right.
I mean, I couldn't get it, and I was on it. I couldn't get it at my house, and I had a show on it. It eventually, people started getting, what we wanted was to start rotating in some younger players the way they do on SNL. But what the station wanted to do was just get rid of us.
You also contribute to the education and schooling and betterment of the younger generation.
Well, I wouldn't call it the betterment exactly, but I do try.
When I was a little furball in a little small high school, I was in journalism.
Okay.
And you came up for career day.
Yeah, I used to do career days and stuff like that.
You did a PBS Biz Kids.
Yeah.
That?
Yeah.
Teach for the
Art Institute. Yeah.
What feels for you for teaching?
Well, I think the thing that is most interesting to me is when you take somebody who's got sort of a raw idea and doesn't really know what they're doing, and you see them improve during the quarter. It gives you a satisfying feeling that if you can help somebody just sort of organize their thoughts and write better. I had teachers who did that for me, and I enjoy. I get a kick out of it.
Your stand-up comedy, which is like one of the things you got now. You're doing Keister's Last Stand.
I am doing that. Yes, on September 9th at Benaroya Hall. I'm doing my last concert in Seattle. I'm doing my last concert because for years I've been doing clubs here and there or other situations, and at a certain point you go, I think I'm kind of getting ready to just sort of leave this behind. And the city has changed so much that most of the people that I meet don't really know who, Almost Live or who I am or stuff. And I thought, well, it's time for the people who still remember it. I'll just do one more thing, and then, I'll bow out.
Well, okay, I understand that, but I actually feel that I relate to a lot of your stand-up material, because all the people that grew up with old Seattle, and I was used to different boroughs having a fingerprint.
Yes.
That they're kind of just melded together.
Absolutely. Yeah, a show like Almost Live in the beginning, when we made fun of individual neighborhoods, that wouldn't work today.
You voiced the documentary Sonicscape.
I did, yes.
What do you see for the future of the Sonics?
It all comes down to money, and if there's at the time they had Steve Ballmer behind them. He was one of the money people, but then he found he could buy the Clippers, so he went and bought the Clippers.
Right.
If they have enough money behind them, they can pretty much do anything. It just depends on who wants to sell and whatnot. But I really enjoyed watching the Sonics. I was been here my whole life, and I remember when they won the championship, and it was one of the coolest nights in Seattle. I think it's definitely possible they could come back, but it all these days is all about money.
Well, what do you think about the Key Arena as a location? I didn't like it the first time around.
It was fine for us when we were young. We didn't know
Right.
that it wasn't a first-class facility. You're close to the players, and now they're like, oh no, it has to have a disco and
Big giant screen.
restaurant and all this sort of stuff. And, I mean, I guess that's the world that we have to live in. So they'll either demolish that and build a new one, or they'll build another one somewhere. But that's what the owners of the teams demand, and the city writes the checks.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you. It's
Bigfoot.
been an honor, sir.
Okay.
Remember, Bigfoot believes in you.